Marketer of the Day, episode 546, Marketing the Invisible. Be authentic and strategic. Create an amazing client experience and an irresistible offer with Tom Polland.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're talking with Tom Polland, and his website is Leadsology.guru. And Tom started his first business at age 24, and he's gone on to start and sell 4 others, taking 2 of them international. And in that time, he's managed teams of over 100 people and annual revenue of more than 20 million. And he's the best-selling author of Leadsology, The Science of Being in Demand. And he's shared all kinds of international speaking platforms, and we're going to talk about how to market a service and how to get leads coming in, all that fun stuff. So, Tom, glad to be talking to you.
Oh, a real privilege and a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Robert.
Well, heck yeah, the privilege is mutual, I guess you could say. So you have this company called Leadsology. We all want to have that full pipeline. We all want to have, people beating down our doors. So can you tell us about what your Leadsology company does and how we get just a torrent of leads coming in, a hurricane worth of leads?
Well, talking about torrents and hurricanes, the way I describe the system is this. If you could imagine a box of 100 angry snakes and you want to lift the lid and get one out, it's not going to happen because the system's quite relentless. And I know there's a lot of hype and a lot of BS out there about how great everyone's systems is. And mine is a little different in that because of all the hype and BS out there, and I want to say this up front, not because I want to sell anything, which I do, but that's not the reason for saying it, is that I want people to understand that what I'm about to tell them is they should really listen up because it actually freaking well works. And to underline that, I say to people, look, just do the first month for free. Just take 4 weeks and then you'll see for yourself how amazing this thing is, because everyone else says, pay me your money and then I'll give you some good stuff and it's really good. And I'm saying, this is really good stuff. Don't pay me any money and find out how good it is. So I just want to underline that right at the start so people know this stuff actually works. What I'm going to tell you is zero BS. It's a hype-free zone. It's not even a sales zone. It's just let me tell you how it works. So imagine you wake up on a Monday morning and there's a bunch of people, you open up your calendar and there's a bunch of people who have booked a time to speak with you. And they know about becoming a client, I should say, and they know what your fee range is. They know pretty much how you work with clients and the sort of result you get. And they regard you as, if not one of their very best choices, they regard you as their only choice. So these are what we would therefore call highly qualified prospects because they're inbound. They've found a link, they've scheduled a time. And you open your calendar Monday morning, you look at it and you go, cool, my pipeline's full. These people, as I said, they know my fees, they know how I work, they know what sort of results I get, and they regard me, if not as one of their very best, then their only option to work with. So that's what Leadsology does. So I thought I'd start with the end in mind and work backwards from there. Now, did I actually answer your question, or is there another part to it that you wanted me to dig into?
Well, sure. There are a bunch of little parts that we can go into now that you have my curiosity piqued. So you're saying that you help people get the calendar full, not just with whoever, but with people who are already pre-qualified in a lot of ways, who know what you charge, willing to pay for it. Maybe they just need that little extra push to get a few things clarified and they're ready to buy. Is that on the right track?
That's pretty much it. We're talking. So these are not what a lot of people call about leads. They're actually suspects. Someone's opted into a list. To me, that's not a lead. That's definitely an opt-in and it's worthwhile, but it's not a lead yet. And then you have prospects, they are prospective clients. But these ones, the leads, I call a lead, that's my definition of a lead. It's highly qualified. So, and you're quite right. There's probably going to be a couple of questions they need answered, but emotionally and mentally, unless there's something else pops up that's untoward, they have pretty much already decided that you're the person they would need to invest with.
Well, that sounds like a great place to be, and you're making me think of a few times when I've gone down this path of looking for some of those one-on-one clients, because, as you know, more money is always good, and having some of these high-ticket clients is many times the path of least resistance, right? It's like, how many $7 copies of an ebook do you have to sell? How many $47 copies of a software do you have to sell versus get someone on for a few $1,000? You only need to have a handful and you can devote I mean, and it's not even that much time to spend with them, but you can devote, your mental energies to that sort of stuff. And so a few years ago, me and my business partner began looking for some of these monthly coaching clients, and we got maybe 10 or so people on the phone, and I think we landed like 3. It was really easy. And then we went another round a few years later and talked to a handful, and then got one person for a few $1,000. But then recently, I've been trying to recreate that, and I tried putting out an offer for a done for you sort of podcast, and I got a lot of people on the phone, but it seemed like it was a really uphill battle this time compared to a few years ago, and it seemed like I wasn't sure if the offer was quite right. I'd have a contact form and I'd pre-qualify some people, and I thought that, I don't know, like the questions that came back just weren't, or the answers to the survey just weren't that great, and I put out an offer for done for you book, and I got a couple of sales on that, but again, it felt like I was working way too hard for what came back. So I don't know, to be honest, like I've become kind of discouraged, because I feel like I haven't been able to recreate the magic the first time, and not really sure where to start. So do you have any sort of thoughts on that sort of story there?
Well, first of all, I admire greatly your openness and honesty, because most people just pretend that they've got millions of dollars coming in every month, and they're beating people away with a stick. So there's a missing link in everything you just said. To me, there was a link that was there in the first experience you had, where you converted 3 out of 10, but that link was missing in the second experience, where you just ended up being frustrated and disappointed. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying that I'm a broke marketer, but I will admit that in this realm of the one-on-one coaching, I definitely don't have it figured out.
Right. Okay. So first of all, we can get back to the value delivery model, how to work with clients in a way that's scalable and very effective for each individual client, and how you can do that. So it's actually, the client feels it's reasonably customized, but it's still very easy if you deliver the value in very little time. We can get back to that. But the big thing that, when my ears are pricking up and what you've said, is that in the first occasion, you recognized something that you didn't recognize in the second campaign. And this is just me on the outside looking in. When marketing campaigns fail, there's one of two things that have gone wrong, if not more, but mostly it's one or two things. First of all, the value proposition hasn't been clearly articulated in a manner which is both differentiated and desirable. We can come back to that. But the second one is that people tend to do their marketing as if they're Hugh Jackman. And, Hugh Jackman, right? He can sing, he can dance. Wolverine and a whole bunch of others. And he's the reason, this is probably quite important to underline why a lot of people aren't buying. And I said to my wife about 4 weeks ago, I said, who's the most irresistible man on the earth? And she said, well, you are, sweetie. And I said, well, of course I am. I'm bald, I'm fat. Who couldn't resist that? I got wrinkly skin. I said, but apart from me, who is it? And after a bit of discussion, she came up with Hugh Jackman. I thought, well, of course, he can sing, he can dance. He's incredibly good looking. He's got a body Adonis would die for. And he earns like $1 million a week. So I said, well, tell me this. If there's a knock on the door and you went and answered it, and Hugh Jackman was there, and he dropped down to one knee and he held up a little red velvet box, and inside it, he flipped it open. There was $1 million diamond ring, and he said, Uta Sterenga, that's just my wife's name. You don't know me, but my name's Hugh Jackman. Would you marry me? If that happened, what would you say? And she looked at me and she said, well, Tom, you know I love you, right? I thought, I shouldn't have asked this question. And I said, yes, but what would you say? She said, well, I'm sorry, but, you wouldn't see me again. He's just irresistible. I love you, and I'd probably come back, but I'd go away. And I said, look, don't apologize. If I had answered the door and he proposed to me, I probably would have gone as well, and I'm not even gay. So most people are doing their marketing as if they're Hugh Jackman, irresistible, without any dates, without any, let's get to know each other. Let's let you see how a swell person I am in the commercial context, my professional integrity, establish respect, establish rapport, establish what I call relatability, so that the prospect feels, that's an important word, that they know, we know what their situation is and where they want to get to and the emotions they're feeling. And finally, reciprocity, whereby they feel that we've done so much for them that they would rather work with us than anyone else. So that's not Hugh Jackman marketing. That's what I call Jack human marketing. Jack Human is pretty much the opposite. He's a real guy. He works in a Nando's chicken restaurant. I Googled him. I Googled the name Jack Human to see if there was one, because I wanted to find the opposite of Hugh Jackman. And I think I found him. He looks more like me, except he's a bit more overweight. And he's about as good looking as me, which is not very good looking. And he's a manager in this Nando's chicken restaurant in Doncaster in the UK. And if he had knocked on the door instead of Hugh Jackman, then my wife probably would have come back, right? So we need to do our marketing understanding that we're not Hugh Jackman, we're more like Jack Human. We're not irresistible. I can sum that up by saying that when we're marketing the invisible, and coaching services, which you've talked about, certainly falls into that category, it's far more like proposing marriage than it is selling a car. We can't just say to someone, do you want to buy? Do you? Huh? Do you? Huh? We need to create an experience for that prospect whereby we establish what I call the psychological allure at 4 levels. Level 1 being rapport. People say, well, we've got to know, like, and trust. Yeah, but it's probably not enough. There's a lot of people I know, like, and trust. I haven't handed them over my money. We've got to establish a psychological allure at the 2nd level, which is respect. So people can understand that our product and our service has integrity, that we're not just another person that they're going to pay money to and get nothing in exchange, nothing of real value. We need to establish level 3, which I mentioned before, which is relatability. They feel that we know where they're at, where they want to get to, and what's important to them. And finally, reciprocity. So what all of that adds up to, Robert, is that people need time with us to get to know us way before we say, do you want to buy? Or even way before, do you want to talk about becoming a client?
Okay, you've given us a lot to unpack there. And so, I mean, what does that translate into as far as, like, taking some actions? Does that mean that we need to do some sort of fact-finding and ask our audience and maybe tailor-make this coaching offer based on what they tell us they need versus inventing something and shoving it down their throat?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, I don't do those things. I think most coaches or consultants or trainers can sit in their common sense corner and figure out the 2, 3, 4, 5 key features that clients are looking for, because it's not that difficult. I mean, they want something that's going to work as soon as possible. They want something that's as simple to implement as possible. They want something not necessarily cheap, but gives them a good return on investment. And yes, a guaranteed that went with that would be nice. That's what they want because they've been burnt before. And they want someone to be there for them. They want someone who's got their back so that when they're going through a program or they're going through a one-on-one coaching experience, they have this peace of mind that you're accessible. So, I sell programs. I also sell one-on-one experiences. But every single client, whether they're paying me $197 a month or $25,000 a month, gets my mobile phone number. So we've got to figure out as I said, the 3, 4, 5 features that people need to be aware of. When they're aware of them, they go, that's what I'm after. And it's like, I still remember my son showing me the first smartphone. It was an Apple smartphone, and flicking through the screen, showing me all these photos and I was just blown away. And I didn't know that I needed a smartphone until I saw one. And very often people don't know that they need what we've got until they see it. And it's expressed, the features are expressed in such a way that it activates their unconscious buying motivation to go, yep, that's what I want. I want a no-risk experience. I want a guaranteed return on investment. I want access to Robert when I need to get hold of Robert. I want it step by step. I want it simple. And I want it to work. Well, yesterday would be good. We can't do that, but we can set a realistic time frame that they can buy into and say, yep, I'm okay with 90 days to get the result, or whatever it happens to be. Everyone says, people buy an emotion, justify it with logic. That's only half true. It is true that we often open up people's interest and curiosity and desire with emotion. But most people, unless they're like a 12-year-old kid who falls in love with a new bike, most people, I should say, are going to want to justify their purchase before the purchase in terms of the features. Can I afford it? How many weeks does this roll out over? Am I able to implement? Why would I implement this program and I haven't implemented all the other ones that I've just bought, in the last few years? So there is still a lot of logic that needs to be addressed in the buying process. if a part of your question, I think, was getting into the weeds of this thing, what does it look like when we start dating a prospect, or a prospect starts dating us? And what it looks like is it looks like any marketing asset that allows the prospect enough time with us that leaves us in control and able to walk them through a journey during that time where we establish rapport, respect, relatability, and reciprocity. Books are great for that. Webinars are great for that. Surveys, if they're done well, can be great for that. But we've got to get people through that experience. Even a downloadable PDF, a 12-page PDF, is not bad for helping people to start dating us, but it's not enough to have them salivating and wanting to work with us. We've got to create another experience. Live events are a great way to do this. So it's a matter to me of figuring out the simplest, the easiest, the most cost-effective way of allowing people who have an interest in what we do that opportunity to figure out that, hey, we don't look like Hugh Jackman, but we're a pretty good investment all the same.
Well, you're really blowing my mind here, and you're making the light bulbs turn on, and you're making me think back to the various coaches that I've hired, as far as that, having that experience and realizing, like, this is the thing that I need, even though I didn't even know before I saw it that I needed it, and just being like blown away, or seeing that magic offer, or me thinking like, I got to have this right now, and now you're making me realize that there probably were a lot of things going on behind the scenes that were, deliberately put in place that got me excited about it. And like there was like my two last coaches over the years I've paid for at live events. When the first or the second time around when we got those coaching clients, it was at a live event. And so when you're mentioning some of those things, especially like the concept there of like being accessible or handing out your mobile phone number, it makes me think about, okay, well, what are the pieces of the thing that we're trying to solve? Like if there's someone out there that's saying, well, I want to have all the parts in place, like how does it break down to? Is part of it like the offer, or part of it traffic, or qualifying the leads, or the time management aspect to juggle all of it? Like how do we begin to crack this nut? What are the pieces to it?
Well, there's 10 pieces to it. I call it the Leadsology persuasion sequence. And it starts with It starts with why listen to me. So, someone reads that you're at a live event, and by the way, I don't do live events, but we can come back to that if you like, as to why I don't do them. If you're at a live event, someone reads out your bio, and it's written in such a way that it sounds like your mother wrote it for you, and it's impressive, multiple best-selling author, or, share the platforms with, and you drop the big names that you can drop, or how many years experience, how many clients, a lot of social proof. So the bio answers the question, why listen to me? And if it's a book, that should be up the front, not on the back cover, because 9 out of 10 books that are sold now are sold as ebooks, and you don't even see a back cover. So it's got to be up the front. So why listen to me is the first question. The next question is what's the core message of this presentation? And that's essentially a benefit-rich restatement of your marketing message. In my case, let me show you. It is possible. In fact, I'll rephrase this and get it right. Not only can you, and not only should you, but for the sake of your financial future, you must learn how to generate a weekly flow of high quality, inbound new client inquiries. That's the core message. And we want to state the core message because when people quite rightly believe that core message, they're far more likely to respond to the call to action, which is in 8 steps time. Is this making sense so far?
So far.
Yeah, and you can use the exact same sequence for webinars, books, etc. So we then go on to state the problem. And I've done 1,000 live events or more, 3D events and hotels and so on. And this formula works incredibly well. What's the problem? What's your problem? Let's define the problem, both the cause and also the symptoms. Now, let me give you the 3 big symptoms that you'll be experiencing right now if you have a lead gen problem. I'm just giving you an example here. With symptom number 1 is stress. You lie awake at night, or you worry about where the next client is coming from. And symptom number 1 sponsors symptom number 2, which is what I call random acts of marketing. You think, oh my goodness, I got to get clients, and let me go to a business networking meeting. Maybe I should try posting an article to LinkedIn, but it's already random. And symptom number 2 produces symptom number 3, which you're probably experiencing, which is roller coaster revenue. Revenue goes up one month, is down the next. And each symptom sponsors the next one. So stress sponsors random acts of marketing sponsors roller coaster income. So when you describe to your audience what they're experiencing, we massively increase what I mentioned before as relatability. But we still haven't got into the solution, right? We're still dating them, taking them on a series of experiences. Once you've established that, yes, they do have that problem, and yes, these are the symptoms they're feeling, key word, there's that emotion thing again, we still don't go into the solution. We then go into, look, here's what most people try to solve that problem, and here's why it doesn't work. And then we go through and we outline a bunch of things that they've already tried, and we explain to them why it didn't work. So now we've even further massively increased respect, rapport, and relatability. And that's when we're about to introduce reciprocity. And that's when we come out and say, look, here's the model. Here's my proprietary intellectual property that's going to take this problem away for you, and it's going to help you avoid years of frustration and disappointment because you know not to try all the stuff that you thought you should be doing. So by the end of the sequence, right at the end of the sequence, is a call to action. And the call to action is not pull your credit card out and buy now, although you could do that and people do it. I have a problem with that, Robert, and the problem I have with that, if I have an audience, whether it's a live event, and I do them occasionally if I get invited, or it's a webinar or what I call boardroom briefings, which is one of the best lead converters you can ever get. If I have that, I don't want people to buy until I know that what they're buying is right for them. And I know this goes against what everyone does, well, not what a lot of people do on the internet, but I want to speak to every single client, prospective client, before they buy. So if you look at my website, you can't buy a program off the website because they have to come through a consult first. The consult's not a coaching call, and it's not a sales ambush either, because by the time they get there, they already know what I charge, and they know the different options for working with me. We did that right up front, yeah. So it's a whole sequence and it's a whole structure, and it's very carefully thought out, and it's designed not to go out trying to hassle people who really have no interest. They come out with me for a date or marry me, which is what happens at business networking meetings or cold calling or spamming people on LinkedIn and so on. It's designed to have people who are a fit for what I've got talk with me so I can give them one of 5 different options. Either I can't help them, but I can tell you someone who might be able to, or there's a $197 a month program, or there's whatever it happens to be, a $25,000 a month program, depending on whether they're enterprise or individual. So in other words, I can customize through the consult my recommendations so that I have a much higher level of confidence that the person is going to get what they can afford and what they need. That way I get to sleep well at night, and hopefully karma next time around is going to be even better.
I love it. And there's this idea of yours, or this concept of the coaching is like getting married and everything before that is dating. That analogy is making a heck of a lot of sense to me in a lot of ways. Number one, that it sounds like there's definitely a component of like the results-based thinking of a lot of the details don't matter. You don't have to really dump in a ton of ideas or, just like vomit a bunch of stuff on them. That sounds like a path to going into the friend zone, right? If you explain all your secrets, you leave no mystery, there is no romance left.
Yeah, that whole vomiting thing, I tried that on dates. It just didn't seem to work. So I stopped doing that.
Right. You need to have some of that intrigue in there. And even to the extent of, even when you're listing your 10-step system, you stopped at step number 5 because after a certain point, it's like we would get overwhelmed or have too many questions. And instead you say, well, here's the gist of it. Let me give you enough of it to give you a little bit of value. Like you're not just being in total sales mode, but you're saying, I'm being a little bit mysterious and even explaining like not just the facts, but the emotions and a little bit of the stories as well. And even like you said, point number 4 is why most people try and why things things don't work. And as you were explaining that, I noticed that you went into things that people try that don't work. And what really made a lot of sense to me is the idea of having this customized offer here. So that way everyone has confidence about it, right? You're actually chatting one-on-one with them. And so that way they know that it's specific to them. And then you have that extra confidence on your end because you know that you're not just trying to make something work. You're giving them the solution that they need, and you're making it win-win. You're not making it just like a yes or no. It's, well, if you can't help them at all, then you can pass along to someone else and you still win because you get brownie points with someone else that you're networking with. And if coaching one-on-one isn't the right fit, if they don't have the budget or it's not good needs, then you have some other low ticket offer or group coaching offer or book or something that you can turn into a sale. So just this, like I said, the idea of looking at it with the analogy of it's dating, it's marriage, as getting them as a coaching client, this is just making total sense here.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you. And the other thing I'd add is, there's this whole, I was brought up in marketing. I mean, doing this for almost 40 years. And back in the early days, people used to say, okay, we'll tell you how to do this. We've got to manipulate people into buying. And the way we do that is we tell them what they need to do, but we don't tell them how to do it. Ha, ha, ha. Aren't we clever? And I've discovered that's BS, that if I've got 1 hour with a group of people and I'm going to lead them through my persuasion sequence, I tell them right up front, there's good news and there's bad news. Because I want to be authentic and open and honest and direct and transparent with them. I don't want to start the whole potential ongoing relationship with some sort of subterfuge or some sort of clever but deceitful sequence. So I say to them right up front, look, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is I will answer every single question to the best of my ability, and I will show you everything I can possibly show you in the hour about our model and about how to generate systematically a weekly flow of high-quality inbound leads. The bad news is this is not going to help you a whole lot unless we work together, because it takes months to implement the whole system, and we've only got an hour. If you're okay with that, I'm real happy to share with you whatever I can in the hour, so long as you understand that you are not going to get what you need to implement, because there's so many twists and turns to this thing, and it's complex to implement. So are you guys cool with that? Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Great. So everyone has an expectation which is realistic. And it's personally, I think as a presenter, it's my responsibility to let people know that this will not be enough. That yes, you're going to get value, you're going to get some great ideas. I'm going to pull back the curtain. I won't hold anything back. And I have no problem with telling everyone everything I possibly can. I'm not going to hold anything back about how, why, what, where, who, or when. But they do need to understand, if they're smart enough, they will understand, because I'll be very explicit with them, that they'll need to work with me or someone else to actually implement this thing effectively. And I say to them, look, 95% of you are going to attend this webinar or read this book, or you're going to come to this boardroom briefing, whatever it happens to be, and you'll think you'll come back to this, and yeah, you'll implement some of these ideas, but you won't. You just, like we all do, we get distracted with better offers and we go and chase another shiny thing. That's not so bad, actually, because the 5% who walk away from this thinking they'll implement on their own, you're the ones who 2 years later are just going to be frustrated and disappointed, because you'll have wasted a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you really won't be any further ahead because you're trying to do this on your own. It's a bit like me listening to Roger Federer talk about how to play tennis and then thinking I can go on the pro circuit. It's going to end in tears.
I mean, hearing all this is amazing. And I mean, I guess here's the reason why is, again, the dating analogy. It's like, well, there's the guys that share too much or don't have good technique or stuff in the friend zone, but then there's like the pickup artist sort of guys, right, who kind of have these sort of cheesy pickup lines, which I guess it's good to know cheesy pickup lines and techniques, as long as you don't use that as a crutch, right? And you can use it as sort of your SWOT file and know what it is that you're going to be doing. And it's like if we pivot that kind of idea of like the pickup artist stuff without being sleazy into the business stuff, what I'm hearing what you're doing here is you kind of do a little bit of a takeaway there, right? And also a pattern interrupt, because a lot of people, just like if you're on a date, what's the guy want? The guy wants to get laid. the guy, if you're a speaker, what do you want? You want to make a sale. And it's like, there's almost like that unspoken thing happening there where everyone sort of knows what's happening and you're just getting it out in the open. You're saying, well, look, let's be honest here. Now, I'll explain whatever I can to you here, but we both know that it's not going to be enough to fit it all in that hour. And 95% of you won't do it, and that's okay, and I can relate to that too. But then the problem is this other 5% of you. So at this point, they're saying either I'm part of the 95% or not. They're saying like, oh yeah, I'm part of that 95%, but at least I'll still hear them out, and I might be able to use this somewhere else. But then if they're the 5%, now they've already kind of made that decision in their head, and then you're tackling them there, and it's like you're kind of getting these micro commitments going in here. You're setting expectations. You're asking if people are okay with that, and so it sounds like you're kind of finding the sweet spot of being, to use the dating thing, both a nice guy and a bad boy at the same time, right?
Well, I don't know about all those things you just mentioned. I'm just being honest. I'm just telling them the truth, right? And look, we've all been to so many marketing conferences, and we've all, the 7 techniques and the 4 ways to close a sale and get small yeses before you get to the big yes and all that stuff. I'm just telling the freaking truth. I'm just being me. And I'm not saying I'm doing it in a stupid way. Like, I met my now wife. I first saw her across the other side of a crowded room, and it sounds like a cliche, but it was true. And I literally fell in love at first sight. And what that looked like was the whole of the rest of the room. There was like 80 people in this room ready to start a conference. The whole of the rest of the room went out of focus. The only thing in focus that I could see in the whole freaking room, it's like that opaque or that fuzzy glass. Everything in the room was like that, except for her head and shoulders. It was just freaky. It was amazing. And I could have gone up to her and said, look, my name's Tom. Can we get married? I would have been okay with that. But fortunately, I had just enough intelligence to go, okay, that's not going to work, Tom. You better try something different. Let's try some dates first. Let's have a cup of coffee and so on. Okay, so I'm not saying being dumb about it, but I am saying all of those frickin' manipulations and BS techniques, you don't need them. You need to be authentic. You need to be smart and sequence things like I've suggested you sequence them. But the rest of it, it doesn't work. I mean, even if you've got the best pickup line in the world, Robert, I don't know about getting laid. I've been married for a while now, so it's I'm not going out there with pickup lines, but hey, I'm probably at the other end of the age spectrum to you. So full power to everyone else that's younger than me.
Right. Well, I didn't mean to overanalyze you there, but I guess what I'm saying is, that you found a way to be both authentic and strategic, right? You're not just drifting through with no plan. What cards you need to play, basically.
That's it. That's a really good way of putting it. I couldn't put it better myself. Authentic and strategic.
Awesome. Well, you flatter me, sir.
Oh, your words. I wish I'd thought of them. I'll use it next time.
Feel free to do that with the next podcast guest. So I want to make sure, as we're winding down here, if people had a lot of fun listening to our talk today, to hear about just what we need to know to get that rapport, respect, relatability, the reciprocity, what we need to do to figure out how to help the most people and how to build the business of our dreams. Can you tell us, after listening to our conversation today, what sort of resources people should check out? Where should they go to find out more about you and get on the phone with you and all that fun stuff?
Well, there's a couple that would help them. And first of all, they can go to bookachatwithtom.com. And there would be 2 reasons for going to bookachatwithtom.com. One is to see how I filter people, because coaches, consultants, trainers, etc., have often done 17, 18, 19 coaching consults, end up with no clients. So you really don't want to do that. You want to be able to talk to the people that are highly qualified, that are likely to be a fit. Otherwise, it's a waste of their time and a waste of yours. So if folks go to bookachatwithtom.com, they'll see how I filter out inquiries. And of course, they can make their own inquiry if they read that page and it's a fit. But the other place that people can go to, of course, is our website, leadsology.guru, and there's a free stuff tab there, and there is a lot of free stuff. I give a lot of stuff away because, I'm not just in it to make money. Yes, that's important, but I want to make the world a slightly better place as well. And I appreciate not everyone can afford what I offer, even though it starts at only $197 a month. For some people, that's still a bit of a squeeze. So there's two resources there, I think, that will help people, Robert, to take a step forward.
Fantastic. So you have both those two resources, leadsology.guru and bookachatwithtom.com. And so am I correct in assuming, or am I incorrect here in that you coach coaches? Like if someone goes to, or when someone goes to bookachatwithtom.com, should anyone fill that out, or should they say, well, only fill that out if they're interested in creating a coaching business to see how you filter things out? Or like, I guess, who should go and fill that thing out?
Great question. Pretty much anyone who's marketing the invisible. So you're offering a service. Typically my clients are business or executive or personal coaches, corporate trainers, consultants, financial planners. The only real criteria, other than that they have a service or an idea, and certainly software, I work with a lot of people who do software as well. The big criteria is they've got something that I call is the magic. They've got some magic which transforms lives or businesses. They've got something that they do that makes a measurable and significant difference in the lives of their clients. If they've got that, I can help them, and they should definitely go to bookachatwithtom.com. We can talk about two things. What are the lead sources that are going to be most suitable for them? That's number one. And number two is, do I have something that's a fit for their needs? And if I do, I'll say that and why, give them some options. And if not, hopefully I'll be able to direct them to something or someone else that can help them better.
Fantastic. Some clear objectives there. So if that sounds like you, if that sounds interesting to you, which I think it should and it does, go to bookachatwithtom.com and fill out that form. And then also afterwards, go and check out leadsology.guru to see what else Tom has going on. So thanks for stopping by here, Tom, and for being real with me and for putting up with some of the silly jokes and things like that, and for just getting this code unlocked a little bit, because as you said, a lot of people out there have the magic and it can help a lot of people, but they just need help getting it into the hands of other people. They need to get that traffic coming in, get that extra attention, and talk to those potential clients that they need to be talking to. So I think this will help out a lot of people. So bookachatwithtom.com. We'll see you there. And thanks, Tom, for helping us out here.
It's been a real privilege. Thank you for the opportunity.
Want to be a guest on Marketer of the Day? Or can you recommend an author, speaker, coach, or entrepreneur with a great success story and awesome insights? Go to marketeroftheday.com/ask and tell us who you'd like to have on the show. That's marketeroftheday.com/ask.